Well, the weakening dollar is another factor being blamed for driving up oil prices. Over the past 12 months, it's lost around 15% of its value against the euro, but over the last quarter has been holding steady. So is this a turning point for the declining dollar? For more on that, joining me now is Keith Miller, foreign currency strategist for Corporate FX. Hi there, Keith. We have really seen a relentless fall of the dollar over the past 12 months. Do you see this as a stabilisation period, or is it just a wee respite?
It's a very good question. We certainly have seen the US dollar fall considerably against all major currencies over the last 12 months, and it's really primarily due to the credit crisis that obviously subprime induced. Is it over? That's a very good question. The Fed has certainly been in a very aggressive rate-cutting cycle since the outturn of the credit crisis, and it's only recently that they've halted this interest rate cutting cycle. The question is, are they going to increase interest rates, and when are they going to increase interest rates? If, as we as a market very much expect, if we do see an increase in August or September, then yes, the answer to your question could be yes, that we may well see the end of dollar weakness. If, however, we don't see that cut or increase as expected, then this may sustain.
Of course, it is that balancing act, isn't it? The relationship between the United States interest rates and interest rates in the Eurozone, in London, in Japan, that sort of thing.
It most certainly is. And what we're seeing at the moment, the three economies that you've mentioned there, we've got obviously sterling, we've got euro, and we've got the US dollar. They're all in very similar positions. Now, the only question is, who is going to really recover first of all and come out of this ahead of the game? And my initial answer would probably be the euro. They have been the only economy that has sustained their stance on price stability. They're the only currency or the only central bank that haven't decreased their interest rates as a result of the credit crisis. They've maintained that position, and now they're talking about the possibility of increasing their interest rates, and widely expected in the market this is going to happen tomorrow.
That's interesting, though, that you mentioned the euro, because, as you say, the euro has been riding high, but it is particularly vulnerable, is it not, should a general economic slowdown in the Eurozone area become more apparent over the coming months?
They certainly are, and it's going to be more testament to the fact that the one policy fits all isn't desirable in the whole of the Eurozone. It's too much of a compromise. They've maintained their position on price stability and inflation. We're seeing record highs on inflation across the Eurozone now, and growth, although it's stronger than the UK and stronger than the US, it's definitely a problem for them. They're really stuck in a very tricky situation, but across the board they're certainly better than the rest.
Keith, we often talk about cycles in economics. Are we just going through a natural cycle at the moment to seeing where the currencies fluctuating and going through the rises and falls that we could have seen, you know, on a relatively predictable basis, or is there a lot more to it than that at the moment?
I do agree with you. We are seeing a cycle, and although it's not a particularly predictable cycle at the moment, I think the long-term prospect on the dollar, and it always has been, is dollar strength. So although we're seeing inherent weakness across a number of currencies and economies at the moment, I think it is part of a cycle. I think it's only a matter of time before we see that cycle shift around and a bit more of a balance across the major economies.
We shall see. Keith Miller, good to talk to you. Thank you very much indeed.